So what do you think? You're glad to be home?
I'm glad to be home, yes.
That's good.
I don't like to be in the hospital.
No, I know. Tell the people what it was like to die.
It's easy. It's very easy. You don't even feel it. Yeah. Yeah, you just go to sleep and that's it. No pain, nothing. So now I don't worry.
That's right.
Don't worry at all because I know that Jesus has relieved you of any pain. Yeah.
How many years since you quit smoking?
Oh my God, since 1967, I asked the Lord, please give me a night's sleep without waking up 4 or 5 times for cigarettes. He did it that night, and that morning I threw away what cigarette I had and never touched them since, never had the craving.
Never the craving?
Never the craving.
Not every day of your life?
No, it was gone.
Praise. How many years did you smoke?
Since I was 8.
8 to 67. You were born at 33. That's a good long time.
Yeah.
Chew Yara too?
Huh?
Did you ever chew Yara?
No.
That a
No.
boy.
It's drinking the same way. I asked the Lord to help me stop that.
Really?
Yeah. So he took that craving away. What can I say?
It's true.
Yeah.
You
Just
never-
believe in God, believe in Jesus.
That's right.
He'll be with you one step at a time, all the way to
That's
the
right.
end.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he's
Well,
pretty-
you've seen it. I was dead in the hospital how many times? 5?
Yeah. We just got back yesterday,
Yeah.
and you were righty close taking you in.
Yeah.
What gets me is they took you to the hospital, you could barely breathe. They barely get you going, then they're going to send you home again, but you're no better.
Yeah.
To bring you home, you got a hell of a lot worse. Took you right back. I was up till 1:30 in the morning with you
Yeah.
before they finally said I could go home.
Yeah.
Now we're taking it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Love you, Uncle George.
I love you too. Yeah. You know that.
I don't know. What the heck, guys? These early morning videos. Well, I woke up at 1 or so. Well, it was 1:13 it was. Went out and fed those little flying squirrels, and they were happy to see me. Oh, there's a whole, probably 4 of them. They get along good together. They don't fight over the food. Adorable little things. Then I came in, had some coffee, and probably should have got right to prayer, but I ended up checking and doing a few things on the channel, you know, maintenance type of stuff, getting not emails, but the comments answered and what have you, and I spent some good time. And I was just looking on YouTube for this or that, and I see this screenshot of a Vietnam soldier walking through waist deep water with an M60 machine gun out in front, and there's a crocodile up on shore. And it said the things that Vietnam soldiers feared more than the enemy. 5 things. So I said, well, now it caught my attention. I said, since my Uncle George was stationed in Alaska, and his job was to provide fresh meat for the whole bunch of fellows that were there. I don't know if it was a platoon or what the size of the operation was anymore. I don't remember. But he was a plumber in the Air Force as well as a sharpshooter. And there's stories about Alaska I could tell you, but we're going to focus on Vietnam for right now. My Uncle George was 6'6", or was he 6'7"? He was one tough son of a bitch, but he was handsome, like Errol Flynn, but he wasn't a fag like Errol Flynn was. Not at all. He was extremely powerful. And he was a wonderful, sweet, wonderful man. I say was because I'm talking about him as he grew up. I don't know whatever became of him. I lost contact with him. I think it was 2016 or 2017, somewhere in there. But we'll get to that. Um, and we're going to talk about tithing and about other things as well. So if you're interested in this conversation, I think you will find it to be enlightening, if nothing else. As always, everything I'm telling you is 100% truth, because what the fuck's the sense? It's 4:12 in the morning. I'm going to tell you some kind of bullshit? No, I'm not. But sometimes reality is far more involved, and it has its twists and turns than you could ever imagine in a dream or anything else. It's very, very, very bizarre. So Uncle George is up in Alaska, and he's doing his time, and he's sending his money home to his wife Simone, which was a French woman who back in World War II witnessed the slaughter of her entire family against the farmhouse by the Nazis. Uncle George was stationed over in France for a length of time, and he fell in love with her. Beautiful little woman she was, and she wasn't very big, but she could cook, and she would keep in a house so immaculate you could eat off the cellar floor. Hard working. Oh my God. She would, we would be here for hours to try to explain to you all the different facets to this relationship. But she was really good with money. Of course, let's leave the other part alone. She was very good with money. Uncle George would send her the money. She would invest the money and do the stuff. Oh, they would invest together in stocks and what have you. And over the years, because they were so frugal, my God, if Uncle George shot a deer, they would take every piece of that deer and utilize it somehow. He would, told me about scrubbing the shit out of the intestines so they could fill it with sausage meat. Enough of that crap. Enough of that. They were using. Maybe learned it from the Eskimos. I don't know what the hell, but a lot of this is serious shit that I'm about to tell you. Okay, let's go to Vietnam. He gets shipped to Vietnam, in the early, 60, I don't remember the exact year, but it was it was going at a good clip. Our men were being slaughtered by the droves. We lost, was it 2.7 million soldiers during that time of people? Oh. Uncle George goes over there, and I don't think he had too far to go to retire. He'd been in the service for such a long time. The moment he landed there and the door opened on the plane, he began to sweat. He said the humidity was crushing, the heat was crushing, and he was soaked or damp every second of his stay in Vietnam. He was sent to replace a man who had just been killed in a rocket attack. Missiles. Well, they were rockets, I guess. I don't know. He said they were the size of a telephone pole coming in, and it gets your full attention when they hit because it would knock you right out of the sleeping quarters onto the floor and you couldn't move. If you were that lucky. He said he had to scrape the pieces of the man off the walls that he replaced. Welcome to Vietnam. Well, at that time, he still smoked cigarettes. I think he did back then, or maybe he quit when he was in Alaska. I'm not 100% sure, but one way or the other, he did, because he was a heavy smoker, like all my relatives on my mother's side, and I guess my father's side. He had to smoke to be an American back in those days. Heavy. Okay, since he was an excellent shot with a rifle, he easily made sharpshooter. Well, sharpshooter in Vietnam was was quite a grisly son of a bitch. They would have to secure the perimeter of their base camp, and then he would be stationed to watch the entry of Viet Cong that would come in during the dusk hours or the night hours, and his job was to take a 30-06 and eradicate them with laser precision. The photographs that our government demanded that they photograph each and every individual that they eradicate. Quite frankly, I almost puked. These were real. To see what looked to be about a 14-year-old girl shot in the side of the head with a 30-06 with her teeth hanging out the side, eyeballs blown out like a just fucking sick. And this is a psychological shit that my uncle had to deal with. Not only that, but after a certain length of time, the fungus got so severe in his feet that he yanked his own toenails out without anesthetic with a pair of pliers. Yeah, and he told me about the two-steppers, the bamboo vipers they're the same color green as a bamboo, not baboons, baboon vipers. No, they're bamboo. Fucking A, let's not make it worse than it is. They would strike you, and you would have just about enough time to sit down, and if you had the chance to make your peace with God, you better do it immediately because you were on your way out. You were going to die within a very short time. That was it. That was all she wrote. So he told me about that, and the leeches, and the mosquitoes, and of course the Viet Cong. So my uncle's somehow, by the grace of Almighty God alone, survived that experience and came home to his wife Simone. They weren't too many blocks from him stepping into the car and her driving him on home. Then a car backfired. I guess they were getting out of the car, and a car backfired, and Uncle George hit the ground and went under the car. It was shaking like a leaf. PTSD. It took quite a few years. In fact, I think they moved at that time out into the Arizona desert where they had a rabbit farm and where my Aunt Simone would take a not petrified, but it was a dried bullcock, the penis of a bull dried, and she would beat the rabbits to get them ready for dinner by hitting them over the head with a dried moose cock or bullcock, real life. This woman was, I mean, she was a gritty human. I mean, but later in time, well, she had a daughter when my uncle married her. And she was an adorable girl and very, very intelligent. But she was not the offspring of my uncle. And I'm sure my uncle loved her, but he was a little bit stern when it came to her schoolwork. So much so that it was very difficult for her. And she ended up at one point joining a convent, I think in France, a Catholic convent. The horror stories that come from that alone, well, we're not going to even begin to go into. So Uncle George and Aunt Simone moved to California, where he was stationed in the Air Force. And then, of course, he retired with honorable, high honors, decorated war hero. and he began working at the Vacaville prison where Charles Manson was stationed. And so after that length of, and during that whole stay, you know, after he had begun that, he would get obviously vacation, and he would take his wife all around the world. They went to Bangkok, they went to China, he walked on the China Wall, they went all kinds of places because their investments during that time had brought them well over $1 million. They owned several properties, and all was good until they got up in age and the doctors put them on pharmaceutical medications. It wasn't too long after my Aunt Simone began that treatment that she got this idea in her mind. Well, when my Uncle George did retire from the Vacaville prison, he was home all the time. Now, she was used to running the entire household, but now he came home. And he was used to a chain of command. And he's certainly not going to take a subordinate position under his wife. So they informed the doctor that was staying at their other house in Vacaville. They were living in Fairfield, in California, and Vacaville was north of there a ways. Beautiful home, too. Beautiful home. Oh, it really was. I liked it way better than the one in Fairfield that my uncle actually built. He built a great deal of the additions to it and what have you. But here's the deal. She moved up there. And Uncle George, of course, supported her because that's his wife and she's living in their house anyway. Of course, that money's not coming in, but they had so much, it really was immaterial, except for the fact that he was exceedingly frugal, except when it came to needy people. If a needy person came up to Uncle George, he would open his heart and his bank account, whatever, to help that needy person. In fact, during the time after my dad died, and I was staying here, obviously, and I was working still as a concrete mixer driver, and this was started in '96. So during that course of time, and after my brother came and left, I owned the house. I bought my brother Gary's share of the house for $26,000, and I had a mortgage. I succumbed to this bad idea that I could no longer really afford to tithe off the gross, 10% of the gross. Whatever the gross is, grab 10% off the top of it. It goes to CJF Ministries, Christian Jew Foundation, to get the Jews saved. Now, back in those days, I was sending it to Kenneth Copeland because I wanted to invest that money in a place that was getting the most people saved worldwide. And right at that time, Kenneth Copeland Ministries was raking the souls in for the kingdom of heaven. I didn't know of a better Bible teacher than Kenneth and Gloria Copeland. And to this day, a great deal of what I understood about the Bible was supplemented with Kenneth E. Hagin Sr., not Jr., Kenneth Copeland. And of course, we would do a litany of Charles Stanley and go right on down the line. Always use this as the plumb line to make sure whatever those people were telling me was the verbatim truth, which either it was or I discarded it. Okay. So during that time, some things happened in my life that I made very bad mistakes, very bad choices. It put me on the outside of the grace of God. I stepped out into enemy territory and I got hit hard. where my lower back went bad. I lost control of my left leg on the job, as I probably have told you, and I was having a real hard go. Well, during the time that I was afflicted, well, it was 12 days after I became 50. I think that's what the deal was. 10 or 12 days after my 50th birthday, all this happens to me. I'm in a financial spot where my bank account was draining by the monthly bills, and it was a steady drain. I remember I told you I had stopped tithing. Mentally, I couldn't afford it, right? When you go forward with God and He teaches you some fundamental things, you need to stay with the program. God says, I am not pleased with those who fall back. Well, who do you think's following you the whole time you're walking with God? The enemy. When you fall back, you fall right into the hands of a very serious and very deadly predator. Okay. All this to say this. I got to the point where I had almost no money at all. And I was in a lot of pain. My back was screaming. It was like a rat chewing through my spinal cord just above my left hip. The pain was excruciating, and it didn't let up day or night. The only relief I could get was to lay flat on the wood floor. I couldn't sleep in the bed. I couldn't take the softness of it. I would lay on the floor with my left leg bent up like this, and the other leg, well, it's hard to do with my fingers, but kind of like that. And I started to cry. The tears were running. I could still feel the heat of the tears running down the sides of my face as I was crying to God for help. I could feel the streaming hot tears as they went past my ears, right into my ears even. And it was then that the Holy Spirit said, get up and go to bed. I labored to get up onto my knees and then onto my feet, and I was bent over like I was bent at an angle. I couldn't stand straight. I couldn't tolerate the pain. And I laid down in bed, and the Holy Spirit said, I want you to call your Uncle George. See, this is the way God will lead you. He'll tell you to do something. When you accomplish that, then we'll go to the next step. If you accomplish that, then we'll go to the next step. And that's how your walk with God happens. Okay. I got out of bed. My phone was on the wall. Thank God we had real phones back in the day. And I called him, and he was in California. And I told him my situation. He said, Georgie, I wouldn't do this for your brother. If your sister was still alive, I wouldn't do it for your sister. But I'm going to do this for you. Because I know that you're an honorable man. Now, how much do you want me to send you? And I blurt out $3,600. He goes, I'll have it in the mail tomorrow. I don't know why I blurted out $3,600, but I did. And sure enough, 2 days later, that money came. And when that money came, also came the blessing of God, because they stopped fighting me at the work where I was, at W.F. Saunders. Because there was a bunch of scumbag motherfuckers that worked in the office that hated my guts. They hated my guts because I had the balls to hug the owner of the place, Michael Saunders, which they thought was a god. They would suck a mile of cock to get a thank you out of that guy. When I just walked up to him and gave him a hug, he was a young lad. I was way older than him. He was a kid, pretty much a kid when I got there. And I always kept him laughing. And in fact, he almost crashed his SUV one day. I had him laughing so hard before he heard what I said on the radio. He lost it, almost bit the dust. Because I've always been me. And either you like me or you don't. So what happens is, the fellow who really was the one who was keeping compensation from happening, Michael Saunders, told him to stand down, let this go through. And he did. I don't know whatever became of that guy, but Saunders is no longer in business. Michael Saunders is dead. Okay? So, the compensation happens. The money comes in, and I repay my Uncle George. So, as the years progress, we build we talk through emails and phone conversations, and we developed a warm and good relationship, me and my uncle. I loved him dearly. I had great utmost respect for the man. And he was humorous, and he was just a wonderful, wonderful person of his own self. Well, there came a time when him and his wife, Simone, called me on the phone and warned me about my brother, Gary. And actually, what they did was undermine my relationship with my brother, that brought about several years of intense battle between him and I over this house. All right, that's kind of an insert to stuff you would have needed to know where we're going, but there it is. So things didn't work out good with my brother. I ended up, he wanted to stay here after I already paid him the money, and he found out when he came home one day when all his shit was out in the backyard in a great big pile. I said, you better move that horse shit before the rain comes, and don't you ever step foot in this house again. And he could see in my eyes, leave this fucker alone. He's come unglued. So many years went by, I didn't talk to my brother at all. Because he was a very cruel and sadistic asshole during a lot of this. Telling me what he would do to me if he got his hands on me and shit. I just got to the point where I would know that there was a letter coming from him. I could feel it coming to the post office. I could feel it. He scared the shit out of me, to be honest with you. Where is your oppressor now? Well, he's dead. Well, shit happens, doesn't it? And I didn't have nothing to do with it. He died in California, an old man. But anyway, on to my Uncle George. So, in the due process of time, when things seem to be going so smooth, all of a sudden I get a phone call from my uncle. Georgie, I desperately need your help. What is it? Fuck, carte blanche. After you help me, I'd do anything for you. My wife, Simone, is divorcing me. He's in his 80s. What? Yeah. And I need a family member because nobody else out here that's willing to help me from the church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, is able to do the documents because they're not family. Would you please fly out? I'll send you the flight. Yeah, sure, whatever. Boom. Now I've shaved my head down to fucking skin. I wore my best uniform. I got on a plane. I got myself out there, and he had at the time a housekeeper who looked exactly for all the world like Mrs. Doubtfire. She was built like Mrs. Doubtfire. She was quite a gambler, actually, but she did, to some degree, help Uncle George, although what may have started out as a housekeeper turned out to be a live-in occupant that sucked him dry of money, but then moved her daughter in with her daughter's son, little Ricky, the kid who took the picture of the ghost, and Deidre, which was his mother. They were dumpster divers. They went out at night dumpster diving. And don't ask me what the ramifications are, but all of a sudden, the place was pretty well full from time to time of vagabonds and crackheads and meth induced assholes. Although that nobody was ever mean to me, for what the grace of God was on me. But to wake up on a piss-stained couch in California that the dog just hiked his fucking leg on for sport. Yeah. Wonder why I enjoy life now? Okay. The door had been kicked off the fucking hinges. It blew the casing right around the door. It was hanging by a thread. Some drug addict bastard did that. And of course, I wondered why Uncle George's electric bill for 1 month was $12,000. A whole gang of the bastards lived at night in his garage, which had no insulation at all, and they heated it by running the electric dryer. I was up to my ass in alligators. They stole his rifle collection. It was a fucking zoo. And Uncle George wants me to clean these assholes out of his house. Oh, fuck. I was walking all kinds of a thin line, and I only could, listen, I got this house. I can't monkey around. I don't live there. I had to try to do this from 3,000 miles away for several years. All right. Mrs. Doubtfire and her, yes, the initial time I go out there was to be the one to sign certain legal documents. Okay. Well, the Filipino women, there was a Filipino woman and a black lady from California. And the Filipino woman was a legal something or other. Nice lady, beautiful. The house was fucking amazing. The whole thing was amazing. Okay. I decided that I wanted to call Aunt Simone from this meeting with the black lady and the Filipino lady and my uncle. And he dials the phone, and I talk to my Aunt Simone. And she starts to cry. Georgie, little Georgie. Oh, I must see you. You're in California. Yeah, she's very thick French accent. So she said, you tell that dirty son of a bitch, he's going to take you immediately to my house. Well, he wasn't even allowed to be within several blocks of the place. This is going to be an interesting feat. So my Uncle George agrees, because he was at that point trying to lawyer up for the divorce. In his 80s. Oh, fuck. We get into his pickup truck, because he would pick up pallets. He would go around, pick pallets up, load the truck with pallets, and then take them to another place and sell the pallets to make extra money. He just loved to make money. Money was the fucking root of his whole operation. Oh, gotta have more money. Okay. Hi, Chihuahua. So we get in the car, and I look at him. I say, Uncle George, I want you to look me in the face. He does. Wonderful old man. Oh, fuck. It was like a Disney movie, a lot of it. I said, what do you really want to come out of this? He starts to sob. He says, I want my wife back. I say, okay. Take me to see her. Well, I didn't have a toothbrush. I didn't have Dookie. So I said, he goes, I can't get you but about a block. You're going to have to walk the rest of the way. I'm forbidden by the law to go near her. It's understandable. I said, take me to a pharmacy. It's okay. So I get what I needed. And I bought a beautiful card for Aunt Simone and some flowers. So we go back there, but she's not there. She went somewhere. I leave the card, I leave the flowers, and we hightail it. We're not 15 miles from there, and the phone rings. I'm to be turned around and deposited back at Aunt Simone's. Well, sure enough, he got me within a block, and I walked up to the house, and oh, the hugs. Oh, it was so nice. I loved Aunt Simone. I loved them both. And to be watching this destruction of a family is fucking, it's traumatic as a bastard. So we came in, and she told me her story of what happened. She loved to go walking in the mountains. She was older than him. Shit, if he was 83, she was 86 or 7. She was way up. He married an older woman. She knew what she was doing, boy, I'll tell you what. And he enjoyed it. That's another story. But nevertheless, she tells me she broke a leg. She was in the hospital. They had her, pretty well doped up. Of course, Uncle George came to see her. He brought her flowers. He brought her all kinds of things. But she looked up and didn't recognize him as who he was. And or the devil must have got into her, or maybe it always lived in her. It said every evil, hurtful thing that she could ever say about her husband to his face and broke his heart. Just fucking shattered it right there on the spot. As if everything in his life wasn't hard enough, that broke his fucking heart. So when he went home, he said, fuck it, I ain't paying for her no more. I ain't sending her a fucking dime piss on her. Well, once the money started coming in, she got hotter than a bastard. Where the fuck's the money? That's when she lawyered up. That's when the divorce was going to happen. So I sat and listened to her. I'm dressed in a very, very beautiful uniform. So I am just as bald as a fucking cue ball. No facial hair at all. I look kind of fucking creepy, I think. Ugh. I'm just not into that look, but I could do it in a heartbeat. A lot easier than this. This takes years. All right. We get talking, and I understand what the whole thing is, and I, with the grace of God, this woman is like rock. I mean, you're not moving her at all. Oh no, you don't watch your whole family get slaughtered by the fucking Nazis, and you don't have a constitution it's like fucking solid iron. We get talking, and the Lord is able to get her to the point to say, well, she wanted me to stay there that night. You're definitely staying here. Forget about anything else. You're staying here. Okay, I'll stay. So I had a little wee room to sleep in, and she had, of course, her own. This is her house. She had her own bedroom, and she would shut the door after she went in. Well, I'm laying there. Well, let's get to the point. I skipped a spot. We got to the part where she said, okay, tomorrow you call Uncle George, and I will be willing to talk with him about this divorce and about the money. Because I told her I will negotiate for you, Aunt Simone, to get the money back, and I can get you every bit of it if you'll give me a chance. Okay, well, that's what got me my foot in the door. How the fuck I was going to do this, I had no clue. So once she went in and went to bed, and I could tell that enough time had gone by, I came out into the living room, and I kneeled on the floor. And I prayed like I have never prayed ever before or ever after. I was trying not to make any noise, but there's just groanings and sorrow coming from my heart. The tears were ripping down my face like rivers. And this went on maybe a half an hour until I was so fatigued and drained. I just went and I slept long enough to hear, Jadaji, it's time to get up. You don't stay asleep. The sun has arisen. It is time for you to go out and mow my lawn. You don't think you're going to stay here and eat Aunt Simone's food without doing some work, do you? I said, what the fuck? Yeah, no problem. Where the fuck's the mower? She stole Uncle George's mower, and he wanted his fucking Honda mower back. What the fuck? He's a multimillionaire. Go buy 10 of the cocksuckers. You know, no offense, but what the fuck? Nope, he wanted that one back. Well, you know how old people get. And anybody, I guess. So lo and behold, I go out, I get this fucking mower started, and she's got a yard that, the fucking grass, it's like plastic grass. It's really grass, but it's nasty fucking grass. It's slippery on the side of the hill, and it's fucking hard to cut. This is weird shit, man. This ain't like my grass. This is serious California grass. So I start to do the job, you know. I'm in my 50s. I start to do the job, and it comes to me. I cut the lawn in such a way that it said, I love you, that you could see, and I got pictures of this too. I may find them and put them in the video. I love you. I cut it, because the lawn was long enough that you could obviously see this. And after a set amount of time, she came out with a glass of lemonade or something for me. It was hot. It's still fucking California. Although it was March, but nevertheless, it was still California. Freezing cold in the morning, freeze your balls off at night, burn you to a crisp during the day. She comes out and sees that. She just starts to weep. She wept uncontrollably. I am hanging on to this little woman. She's weeping. She goes, I want my husband back. I want my husband back. I said, fuck yeah, we're getting him back right now. I call him, Uncle George, get your ass to the house immediately. I don't know if he burnt rubber the whole fucking distance, but he was there in no time flat. They sat down together and they worked it out. Next thing you know, he's peeling fucking mushrooms. Ever see somebody peel a fucking mushroom? He did not a peep on him. He's peeling mushrooms. They're all set. Everything's happy. She comes back to the house, throws the fucking housekeeper the fuck out of there. Heartless. I never saw a woman with zero heart. None. There was no heart to this woman at all, period. She had no care for the people she was throwing out on the fucking street. Get the fuck out. You're done. Child, boot, see ya. Woman, boot. Daughter, boot. You're all done. Hit the fucking road. I think she would have killed them all. I do. I think she would have literally, seriously killed them. They got the fuck out. They the poor bastards lived in the vehicle Uncle George bought for Audrey. That was her name. And there's a whole much goes to that, but let's stick to this. Aunt Simone went through the house cleaning like a bastard. Now Uncle George has 2 dogs. A Jack Russell Terrier that was so old his eyes had cataracts, but he had more spark and fire than a fucking, he's just a fucking wild man. This son of a bitch was cool. And then he had a shit ass, he had 2 it was 3. There was a black Chihuahua that was kind of good size and a little tiny brown one that had wandered the fucking streets for years, and Uncle George always was determined he was going to catch that dog and bring it home. And she was an adorable little thing, but she was a dominant dog in the family, so wherever she pissed, the rest of the dogs had to follow suit and piss. I mean, there was $10,000 drapes that had a solid watermark where the dogs pissed as high as they could, the entire drape line. They had pissed so long on the carpet that was probably $20,000 carpet that it rotted the fucking floorboards out and had black mold. And you wonder why Uncle George he had COPD and had to breathe through a fucking thing at night. Ay, Chihuahua. The pharmaceutical drugs were the underlying factor of what broke this family all to hell. 30 to 40 minutes after Aunt Simone would take her pharmaceutical drug, she turned into a fucking asshole. Just a complete asshole. Just a complete flip over of her normal self. And Uncle George would turn into kind of, I don't know, just floaty. You know, not really there, but kind of floaty. And so I came back home, and they would call me, or Aunt Simone called me, said, thank you so much for getting us back together. I said, no, it really was the Lord. And of course, it was that also at that time that we were having dinner before I flew back, that this voice said to me, I'm going to kill you. If there's anything that you want to do, you better do it fast because you're a dead man. I am going to kill you. I heard it, not audibly, but it was not the Holy Spirit, but I definitely heard it. And so on the plane back, I thought, what is there that I didn't say that I want to say? I said, well, there was a woman that I was in love with for 8 years. She was a beautiful woman. I loved the sound of her voice. But no matter how hard I tried, I could never get her to even go on a date with me. I would buy her flowers, cards, food, whatever, nothing. So when I came back, I told her how much I loved her and I wanted to marry her. And that's when I was told, well, what am I going to do with my boyfriend that I've had for 12 years? And his children that get along great with my children. You ever think of him? I said, I didn't know he existed. I said, she says, you're a nice guy and all, but I don't have an opening for a man. I mean, I don't have as if I was going to be an employee, right? That's what I meant by that. That fucking crushed me. It crushed my ass. Welcome to the many broken hearts old Humble has had in his life. But that's another story. So back to Uncle George. Back to Uncle George is, now there's a vacancy in the house that needs to be filled because he's up in age and somebody has to come. So the Samoan church provides him a woman who's an ex-prostitute. All right. She was a skanky looking bitch. She'd have to pay me. But nonetheless, she smoked cigarettes like a fucking train, which, whatever. But she was, I mean, I thought she was at least trying, you know. As the due process of a year or two go by, turns out that this is not working real well. She's milking him fucking dry. To the point where I get a phone call from the bank of Uncle George's that he has, that that woman has embezzled $36,000 out of Uncle George's account in 2 months' time. I needed to get my fucking ass back to California. Are you fucking serious? So I come back and I confront the woman. And you know I have no tact whatsoever. It was a bull in a china shop type of deal, but don't realize that the laws in California are strictly different than common sense would dictate. I mean, so what? They don't give a flying fuck. That's a small fish in their pond. They got bigger fish to fry. So what? The prostitute took $36,000 from him? Fuck it, who cares? You know, wasn't off, no skin off my ass. Yeah, well, I ended up almost getting arrested. But, yeah. So when confronted, first of all, she said she was sorry. Next, she said, once she lawyered up, fuck it, I'm not leaving. You can't make me leave. Now I got a fucking vagrant, thank God I saved that one, woman in the house with her son, and a dog that she got, that fucker would piss on the couch where I was sleeping until one night I plugged an extension cord into the wall and let it right where he likes to piss. Turned him into a new fucking, I mean, he had an afro. Calmed that motherfucker down. I guess you could say that. Well, you can say whatever you want to. He never pissed on the fucking thing again. Yeah, lit that bitch right up. He must have jumped 14 feet in the fucking air, straight up. Legs flapping like a son of a bitch. But that's another story. Um, what the fuck? So where are we going with all this? We're going all this about a man who survived California, California, yeah, guess he did that too, but Vietnam. Came all the way through that to get to this spot in his old age where he's finally retired, papered to the blowhole, got money coming in from all kinds of investments, doing great, helping people, loves the church, goes to the Seventh-day Adventist church where he's like almost a deacon in the thing, which I never saw a single person get saved there, and I never saw a person get healed there. And it seems like all they do is worship their own religion, which, whatever. And then he goes to the Samoan church, which the singing was so phenomenal. Again, I never saw anybody healed or saved except when I was there and talked to the people myself, which I guess made me look like Joseph with the coat of many colors to people who didn't see that stuff very often. And I was not looked at happy. I mean, they kind of were nice to me in a way because I was Uncle George's nephew. But other than that, oh, I was a fucking fly in the ointment. And of course, I didn't have good tact when I talked to the pastor. And I demanded some things in a vicious way that they didn't take kindly to. So when I left, they hooked, well, I found one of the women from the Samoan church said she would like to take care of Uncle George, and she was a nurse and what have you, and she seemed like she would be a good fit for the whole experience, and she was under my employ in a way, but the woman was incorrigible. I would tell her, you do not ever text me. I don't text. She texted me constantly, and it irritated the fuck. I was ready to fire the bitch. I'll tell you, I wasn't going to put up with any of this bullshit. What happens? She marries him. And the very things he was afraid of that he thought I would do is what she did. Got him out of his house and killed his dog. I got thrown off the will, and I don't know what's become of him since I got a letter saying, your birthday's coming up soon. Well, that's October. This is June. We got something for you. It was, you're completely cut out of the will, and no, you're not allowed to talk to your uncle ever again. Go fuck yourself. All right. Welcome to reality. So I don't know whatever became of that wonderful man that I loved dearly. His wife died within a month and a half after the divorce. But her daughter did get all the proceeds, which is good, because she suffered untold misery with that fucking convent. But we're not going there. So it's kind of a downer. Well, the sun's coming up, so I got squirrels to feed. But yeah, pharmaceutical drugs. Avoid them like the fucking plague. That's all I can